Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 68, Lewis versus Spivac. First things first, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the like button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on YouTube, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is a Stats and Stacks podcast. We did all right last week again. We're right now still going strong with our locks, but it is in a little bit of jeopardy this week. Let's get the elephant out of the room. The fights do not start. The prelims, early prelims, do not start until 10 p.m. It's rough, man. This card was supposed to be over in Asia somewhere, and just a lot of things fell through. They had to move it to the Apex. A lot of road to the UFC guys. Very little fight tape compared to most cards. This thing could be an absolute mess. Here's the thing: it's gonna be entertaining. A lot of time when you get these low-level sloppy guys that are just trying to make a name in the UFC, the fights get a little sloppy, but they get real fun and exciting. I expect a ton of finishes, but guessing who's going to finish who is God luck. God bless you. Also, I apologize in advance for the pronunciation of some of these names. Again, there's 16 Asian fighters on this card, so I'm going to try my best to pronounce stuff. It is going to be rough. But again, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to hop right into it here. I mean, why not just dive right in? Still having technical issues. I don't know what that is, but we're going to go ahead and we're just going to dive right in here with the very first fight of the night. At least I know one of these guys. The other one I know fairly well. We have Tatsuro Taira as a minus 1150 favorite. You heard that right. Going up against Jesus Santos Aguilar at plus 750. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 145. Under 1.5 at plus 115. Let's start with Taira. Tyra's the one they obviously want to push. This is a cupcake matchup. He's going to have an 8.5-inch reach advantage here. Yeah, this other guy has like 60, has a 62-inch reach or something crazy like that. It's ridiculous. He's only 23 years old. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. He's a very, very, very good hammer on top. He will get you out of there if he gets your back, because wrestling's not bad either. I mean, a lot of times you see these Asian fighters struggle a little bit with the wrestling. Not him. He's a good wrestler, man. His striking leaves a little to be desired, but he's explosive. He hits extremely hard. He darts in and out. A little pot shotty, but I mean, once he gets that stand up to match his jujitsu, this kid's gonna be a problem. He seems to have decent enough cardio. This kid's good, man, especially at 23 years old. He's only gonna get better and better. This isn't his first fight in the UFC. This is actually gonna be his third. And to be honest with you, I think the first two fights were harder than the one he's gonna have here. So this is a clear showcase spot. On the flip side, Aguilar, I don't have a lot of great things to say about him. I'll tell you what, he has one hell of a guillotine, because when you look at his record, he shows a 8-1 record for his career. He's one of these combate guys, but his striking's not as good as it usually is coming from that promotion. Most of his wins come by submission, and you know what? They're all fucking guillotines for some strange reason. Again, guillotine. What is that? 4. God, yeah, he has a ton, and then this one was a guillotine. He has a ton of, so he has 5 wins by guillotine and 8 career total wins. Is that right? Yeah, this kid's ridiculous. He has one move. He keeps going for it. He falls in love with his guillotine and he doesn't stop going for it. He goes for it over and over and over. I did bet him to win by submission on Dana White Contender Series, so that was nice to get. But now I'm going to be betting against it because although he has a lot of submission wins, he's a little sloppy when it comes to jiu-jitsu. His striking, it's all right, but his chin is way up in the air and he's asking to get KO'd one of these days. Is Tyra going to be the one to do it? He has the power, man. Tyra hits extremely hard. He's really explosive, but I think he's more or less just going to take him down and tap this kid out early. All in all, Tyra is definitely the side, definitely the pick. You can't bet him at a minus 1150, and I don't really know which way he's going to. This kid's chin, Aguilar's chin, is always straight up in the air. He's going to get KO'd one of these times. So I want to pull the submission with Tyra, but what if he KOs? What if he KOs? You could just play inside the distance. I just like the under personally, 1.5. That's probably the only way you can play it. Otherwise, you're going to stay away from it. So the pick is going to be Tyra. The bet would actually be the under 1.5. And hell, what if Santos catches him with the guillotine? I mean, Tyra does shoot and he does shoot doubles. What if he catches him in one? And if he does, the under would probably still hit. And honestly, Jesus by submission is plus 1,800. I mean, I might take a stab at it. I mean, I don't know. $180, putting $10 down. I might take a quick stab at it. We'll see. All right. Next fight of the night gets greasy right off the bat. We have Jung Young Park as a minus 200 favorite going up against Dennis Tululian at plus 170. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 120. Under 2.5 minus 110. Let's start with Park. I can't tell if he's good or not. The Iron Turtle, he's known for being durable, but he gets rocked from time to time. He's known for having okay striking, but he was struggling against Ugly Man Holmes. I don't know, man. He's a generalist. His jiu-jitsu's okay. He'll show some submissions wins. He tapped out Holmes in his last fight. His wrestling's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's good enough. And his striking was what he used to lean on. He looked real good against RoboCop, but before he got knocked out. But then we saw him get taken down by Anders, so his wrestling isn't that good. We saw him knocked out by RoboCop, so his durability is gone. We saw him losing a stand-up battle to Joseph Holmes, so his striking's suspect. Like, he's just being weird, man. He's good at taking advantage of what you're weak at. He noticed that RoboCop had a little bit of a suspect chin. He went for it. He rocked RoboCop, almost had him out of there. Unfortunately, got clipped. Eric Anders, he knew he was very low volume. He put on a ton of volume. Joseph Holmes, he was losing the stand-up battle, and even in the interview, post-fight interview, he said the game plan was not to wrestle. But once he was losing the stand-up, he realized that he could take him down, and he did so repeatedly, and then ultimately finished him with a submission. So the ring IQ is there. I like that. That's about all I like. His schedule, I mean, he's fought some decent guys, Anthony Hernandez, Marc-Andre Barrio, John Phillips, no. Stefan, kind of a bust. Greggy, RoboCop, yeah. Anders, yeah. Like, he's fought okay guys. I don't know. He's just okay. I don't like betting him. I don't like betting against him. On the flip side, Dennis Tululian, this guy, his striking's okay. He was over at the M1 global scene. I actually saw this guy fight live. I saw him in his debut against Kirizev. First of all, Kirizev is actually a welterweight. He's not he's not a middleweight, so that's red flag number one. Secondly, I didn't like Dennis going into this fight saying, "Can I please get another fight after I lose to Kirizev?" Like, he knew he was going to lose. He begged the UFC for a second opportunity before he even had his first fight. That's sketchy. His jiu-jitsu, also a little sketchy, because when you look at him, he has 6 losses, submission, decision, split decision, submission, and got knocked out once. So most of his losses are by submission. He has a few that could have went either way, but I don't know, man. The main thing with this guy is he's fought decent guys, in all honesty. He has some pretty good level of competition. But it comes down to the wrestling, because this guy's cardio is trash. It's not good. It is not good whatsoever. He falls off a cliff after round 2. All of his wins are within the first 2 rounds. All of his losses, if he's not getting subbed or knocked out in this one fight real quickly, it's because he's going to decision, he's gassing out, and he's losing these decisions. So if he finishes you in the first round, good. But if Park makes it out that first round, it's just going further in his favor. Is it going to get there? I don't know. I think it really is going to come down to the wrestling. He doesn't show a good takedown defense, Dennis, but he's fighting great guys, man. He's over in the M1 global scene. These Russian guys are killers. Then he comes in, he fought Kerziev. Like, that guy is a killer. He fought Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett tried to take him down, and he couldn't. So is Dennis's wrestling bad, or are the guys he's fighting, their wrestling is just too good? I don't know, because Park is right in the middle. So the wrestling is going to decide. I will favor the guy with the cardio, so I will pick Park, but I feel like he's going to blow up a lot of parlays this week. It is very concerning. I'd never want to bet someone with bad cardio, but he does have a path. It just comes down to, can he stuff Park's takedowns? And I seriously don't know the answer to that. So the pick is going to be Park. The bet is actually going to be the over-under is a straight pick 'em. I'll actually pick Dennis as a live dog, but the pick is going to be Park. All right. Next fight, we are looking at more sketchiness, man. We have Mandy Bohm at plus 225 going up against Ji Young Kim at minus 265. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 355. Under 2.5 plus 275. We got to start with Kim because Kim, I literally made a note next to and said, no matter what, do not bet her ever again. She lets you down time and time again. I've been on Kim her last three fights. Her last three fights have all gone to decision, and she's lost them all. Molly McCann won. Priscilla Cachoeira, she got robbed. She beat Cachoeira. She got absolutely robbed. Her next fight, I thought she beat Jocelyn Edwards, but she lost a split decision. So she just goes to, even when you look at her record before that, I mean, split, she has, we're naked. Wow. Armbar. She has some losses by decision, but she has a split here against Justine Keys, split here against Fabian. Like, she just has a lot of splits on her record. She fights everyone close. She even won the first round against Alexa Grasso before Alexa just kind of took over. But all in all, her striking's good, man. She's a good striker, not a ton of power, but she strikes extremely well. Very, very high volume. She's a little bit hittable, but she throws so much volume that it pans out. It's okay. 42% takedown defense. That's concerning. And she always loses these very, very close fights. She's on a 4-fight losing streak, and she's a minus 270 favorite. That's very concerning. Why is she a minus 270 favorite? Well, the answer is because she's fighting Mandy Baum. Although I don't want to bet Kim because of her 42% takedown defense and because she doesn't hit hard and they never give her all she can do is just strike a ton, punches and bunches. Mandy Baum does the complete opposite. She's extremely low volume. She herself is hittable. She gets hit more than she dishes out. She also has no power. I mean, who is she knocking out? She has one knockout in the regional scene against a girl that was 0-1. And a second one on the regional scene against a girl in her debut. That's it. Like, she literally, and her level of competition, 0-0, 0-0, 3-1, 2-3, 0-1, 3-0, 5-3 over in Bellator. And then she comes over to the UFC and she gets absolutely smoked by Ariana Lipski. Ariana Lipski just put on a clinic, ton of volume, made it look easy. Her next fight, she comes out here, gets smoked by Victoria Leonardo, who she had like a 10-inch reach advantage on. And Leonardo is not good. I remember betting Leonardo that fight and being real happy with her winning as the dog. Mandy Bohm sucks. She was over at SGB Ireland, over at Connor's camp. She came over to America, started training at Extreme Couture. We thought maybe that'll help her. You can't help her because she has no cardio. She has no power. She fought no bodies. She has no volume. Like, she has literally no positives to her game. The only thing she could do is go out here and try to take down Kim with a 40% takedown defense. That's how she wins this fight, because she's not going to knock her out and she's not going to have enough volume. Here's the problem. Mandy Baum is 0-5 for takedowns in the UFC. She has not gotten one. She's attempted 5 and got 0. So she can't wrestle. She has no volume. She's a sitting duck out there. So as much as I want to stay away from Kim, I made a note, never bet Kim. I didn't realize she would be fighting the worst girl in the division. So God, I'm going to hate myself later, but the bet is going to be Kim and the pick is going to be Kim. I cannot bet on Mandy Bohm. All right. Next fight of the night is when things start to get even greasier. If you thought Park was sketchy, if you thought Kim was just a dumb idea, just wait till you get into these fights. We have we have Hyun Sung Park as a minus 190 favorite going up against Sung Guk Choi at plus 160. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 230. Under 2.5 plus 185. I do apologize for the hesitation. Just the names are always backwards with them being Asian fighters. Let's start with Park. Yeah, let's start with Park. I mean, after watching the film, he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. He's only 27 years old. He's one of these guys coming from the road to the UFC. All of these fights are going to be sketchy because they have very, very, very limited fight tape. Very limited fight tape. You can only see so much. His record, it's a little suspect when I went back and looked at it. Yes, he's 7-0, but his level of competition, I mean, 8-3 from Road UFC, that's fine. Let's see, we have 6-3, 0-0, 0-0, 4-4, 2-2. Like, he's not exactly fighting the greatest guys on earth. His striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu's fine. He has a few submission wins and different types on his record. He's a finisher all in all. He goes out there and he wants to get it done. He looks fine when he's moving forward. If you back him up, he does seem a little uncomfortable, to be 100% honest with you. So as long as he's the one pressuring forward, he's perfectly fine. He's also kind of a generalist. I didn't see much of his wrestling. But his jiu-jitsu seemed fine, and his striking seems okay. Like, there's nothing really to write home about this guy. On the flip side, Choi, he's one of the Korean Zombie training partners. Everyone's on Choi this week as a public dog. I don't think he was that great either, to be honest with you. I did see him wrestle a little more than Park did. His jiu-jitsu also seems fine. His record also a little suspect, fighting guys outside of Road UFC. The guys he's fighting are 0-0, 1-2, 0-0, 1-1, 1-0. Like, his are even sketchier. He has a few like amateur fights, which are nice, but they also have terrible records. I mean, he's 26, so he's younger and he's evolving too. His striking looked a little questionable. It was not as technical as Park. He seemed to hit decently hard, but I just saw a whole bunch of wild hooks and he's asking to get knocked out. I don't know, man. This fight is all types of sketchy. I know he's never been knocked out before, but Park is a finisher, and I feel like he's going to catch him. But I understand people taking the Choice side. I want no part of either. So the pick is going to be Park. The bet, honestly, it's probably, I have in my notes dog or pass, because I have no other. I have no confidence in Park. I don't know when this. I feel like Park can get the finish, but Choi's never been finished. I don't want to play around with that over under. Over under is plus 185, huh? You know what? Let me take the under. I take it back. I'm going to take the under. I think these guys are going to go for broke with their first fight in the UFC. So the pick is going to be Park. The bet is going to be the under. And honestly, either guy could finish either guy, to be honest with you. All right. Next fight of the night. We are looking at Rinya Nakamura as a big favorite here, minus 425, going up against Toshimio Kazuma at plus 340. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 150. Under 2.5 minus 185. Most of that is because of Nakamura. Unlike some of these other Road to UFC guys, I think this guy's legit. You can tell just by the picture alone, he has a very high wrestling pedigree, and he is a great wrestler. 27 years old. He was like a under 23 world champion or something like that. He actually was going to wrestle for China in the 2020 Olympics. 2020 Olympics, you weren't able to do so because of COVID. So he said, fuck wrestling. I'm going to MMA then, and I'm going to try to make money. That's literally the reason he's only 6-0, because he wanted to keep wrestling, but due to COVID, he wanted to switch over. And that was always kind of in his mind, to be honest with you. I know his father, per Dog and Pass podcast, I didn't know until I listened earlier. Shout out to Cody and Paul, always doing good things over there, Mayo Media Network. I had no idea that his dad actually owned like one of the MMA gyms over in China, like one of the most prominent ones. So he's always had it in his mind that he was going to do MMA. Just with the Olympics not being there, he doesn't want to wait another 4 years and be 31. He just wanted to, or not 31, MB 28, because it would be next year. He just wanted to jump right into UFC, start to make money. And you know what? He's good. He hits extremely hard. He's kind of like a wrestle boxer, which is kind of weird to see out of this region of the world, but he's good at it, man. If he wants to take you down, you will go down. If he wants to knock you out, he will knock you out. He has a submission win on his record. He's pretty well-rounded, and he's pretty good. His cardio seemed to check out. I really don't have any negatives about this guy, besides the fact that, I mean, he's just new to the sport. That's my negative. He doesn't have enough experience to my liking, but luckily he's fighting, this 27-year-old kid is fighting a 25-year-old kid. So the experience is going to balance out. He's 10-2. He is decently good on the ground, but he will pull guard and it annoys the hell out of me. His striking's not very good, to be honest with you. His wrestling, it was decent, but he's obviously not going to take down Nakamura. It's just, I don't know, man. He's really just a jiu-jitsu guy. That's all he is. He's okay wrestling, and his jiu-jitsu is pretty decent. That's literally all he has. And honestly, if you're going to give me a jiu-jitsu guy against a wrestler, I'm going to take a wrestler. 10 times out of 10. This kid has also been knocked out previously last year, so he can go out. And then when I tell you Nakamura hits hard, he hits like a truck. So I think he may not even take him down, because honestly, Toshiomi's striking looked very, very questionable. So if Nakamura is going to be able to dictate where this fight stays, he might just keep it on the feet and knock this kid out. So the pick is going to be Nakamura. The bet is going to end up being the under. I like the under, minus 185. It's a lot better than the minus 425 on Nakamura. So pick is Nakamura. The bet's going to be the under 2.5. All right, then that takes us to the next fight of the night. More road to the UFC Greece. We have Zha Yi as a plus 210 dog going up against Jae Young Lee as a minus 250 favorite. Over under set at 1.5, and it's honestly a straight pick 'em. Over 1.5 minus 120, under 1.5 minus 110. Basically a pick 'em. Let's start with Lee. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here, which is nice. He carries a ton of power, a ton of knockouts. His striking's a little wild, and he's a little hittable, to be honest with you. He kind of has reckless abandonment. He's fun to watch, but God, he gets hit a shit ton based on what I saw. But when he hits you, you go out. I didn't see a lot of wrestling at all. I have no idea how his wrestling is. His jiu-jitsu didn't seem to be the greatest either. So honestly, I know he's a stand-up guy. He's a knockout artist. That's all I got. I don't know how his wrestling is and what happens with this cardio. What happens when he fights someone who wants to just grind the entire time? And that's might be what he runs into here with Zha Yi. Zha Yi was okay. He's 26 years old. His jiu-jitsu's fine. His striking was okay. I will give Lee the striking advantage, but this kid is 22-3. He has 25 career fights. He has a ton of experience. His wrestling was only okay. It didn't look the greatest, but he did continue to go for it. So he mixed up his wrestling and his striking a ton. Again, his wrestling was not good, but he had pretty decent timing, and he wasn't just spamming takedowns. He will strike with you and then randomly go for the takedown, catch you off guard, and get you down. So all in all, I wasn't overly impressed with him, but I also think he has more tools in his pocket, definitely has more experience. He has a lot of wins. He has a triangle choke, a KO, rear naked choke, north-south choke. So obviously he's pretty decent on the ground. He has a lot of various different submissions, guillotines. And he has some knockouts along the way, some decisions to show he can go a whole 15. All in all, he just has the experience, and he's more well-rounded, and he's a plus 210 dog. So as easy as Lee could come out and knock him out, I think it's either Lee by KO or Yi giving a vet lesson, even though he's only 26 years old. So the pick is going to be Yi. The bet's going to be Yi. Give me the experience and the versatility over the kid, the shiny knockout artist kid. All right, next fight of the night is probably the greasiest spot on the entire card. We have Anshul Jubil as a, last time I checked, actually, he was a minus 125 favorite. I had come back on Jekka Sarji at plus 100. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. Let's start with Jubil. The fight tape I saw on him was very limited. I only saw 2 fights. And here's the biggest issue. I've been having some issues with UFC Fight Pass as of late, so I wasn't able to watch any of them. I haven't even been able to see his road to the UFC fights. I could just see the stuff that was on YouTube. Very limited. His jiu-jitsu on paper looks okay. His wrestling, it was all right. I only saw body locks. That seemed to be his only takedown he was able to try and attempt. His cardio was a little sketchy, and his striking was a little sketchy. Honestly, I don't really know what he's good at. He's another one of these generalists. He's 28 years old, still kind of growing in the sport, but it's just his striking was a little one-dimensional. His wrestling, although he tried to mix it in, he only did body locks. Like, there's a lot of asterisks next to what he's trying to do. I was only able to see like 3 fights, but I was not impressed at all. It's one of the least impressed I've ever been watching fight tape. But here's the real catch. Jekka, because I'm not able to access Fight Pass currently, I couldn't see any of this guy's fights. None of them. Every single one on YouTube said set to private. So this guy is 13-2. I saw not one fight. So all I can go off of are my boys Cody and Paul, and they like Jekka. They said he had a decent amount of power. I do see that he has two losses and they're both by sub. So his jiu-jitsu might be a little questionable. I have nothing to go off of. Again, I did not see it. But in hindsight, I mean, he looks pretty versatile. He has some leg kick finishes. He had a spinning back fist finish. He had a key lock submission. He has like round and pound. So he seems to be all over the board getting submissions, getting knockouts in different ways. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I have no idea what I'm walking into, but I do see that he has plus money, and I did see how much I hated his opponent's fight tape. So I'm gonna take the dog. It's an obvious dog or pass. So the pick is gonna be Jekka. The bet's gonna be Jekka solely on the fact that he's plus money. All right. Next fight of the night. We are finally into some fights where we recognize them and have seen them in the UFC previously. And that's why they are on the main card. We have Adam Fuga as a plus 260 dog going up against Yusako Konishida at minus 315. Over 2.5 is plus 115. Under 2.5 minus 145. Let's start with Fuga. Because he's not good. He's not bad. He's just kind of there. He's a body. He's a warm body. He's going to have a 5-inch reach advantage here, which is going to be super nice for him. His wrestling's okay. He took down Morales, which is a pretty hard feat to do. Morales is a very good wrestler, so that's impressive. His striking, it's not that his striking is bad. It's just he's slow. He's one of the slowest welterweights I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't hit extremely hard. You see the technique, the form, everything is just fine on the feet. He's just slow as hell. Like he gets popped a ton. He's extremely hittable just because of how slow he is. His jiu-jitsu's fine. It checks out. So he's good. He is okay wrestling. He's okay jiu-jitsu. His striking is technically sound, just slow. And he doesn't seem to like getting hit. For someone that gets hit a lot, he doesn't react well. He kind of backs up or he gives big animated motions every time he gets hit. Does not look appealing to the judges. On the flip side, we have an absolute killer in Conchita at 22 years old. This kid is obviously who they want to push. He's a Contender Series guy, so everyone's aware of the Contender Series fade, so be wary on this kid. His striking looks good, very good. Honestly, the thing he knocked out his opponent in the Contender Series with, when he literally just slipped and just knocked him the hell out, was phenomenal. Awesome technique. I loved every second of it. He pressures you like crazy. This dude does not step backwards. He goes forward, and that might be a problem for Adam. He did struggle a little with his guy in Contender Series up until he got to knockout, just because of, I mean, the guy was a freak. I mean, Jose was literally a 6'4". What weight class is it? 6'4" welterweight. In hindsight, Jamal Hill is a UFC light heavyweight champion, and he's 6'4". So what is this kid doing at 6'4" welterweight at 170? Like, it was just a lot to deal with, but he figured it out. He figured out the puzzle eventually. Yeah, man, he's just a pressure fighter, so it doesn't matter. You can have a reach on him. He's extremely hard, and he's a pressure fighter. He's undefeated. It will say technically he has one loss. That one loss is by murder. He literally went out there and head stomped the hell out of this guy. The guy couldn't continue. The issue is, as he was curb stomping him, he grabbed the cage. You can't grab the cage in UFC. So, ironically enough, kicks to the down opponent in China, perfectly legal. He did nothing wrong there. It's the fact that he held on to the cage to deliver the curb stomps that got him disqualified. And obviously, if you curb stomp a guy, he's not going to be able to continue. So he took an L. But yeah, that was a disqualification by murder. That's his only L. Dude hits extremely hard. Like it's frightening how hard he hits. He's extremely fast. It's extremely fluid. That is not the type of guy Adam Fuga should be fighting. I will give that we've never seen his jiu-jitsu. We've never seen his wrestling. We don't know how good it is. We have no idea. He has one win by submission. It's a 50-second rear naked choke against someone that was 1-0. Like it wasn't good competition, and he made it look easy. Then he has all of these knockouts. He has a front choke in a minute against someone that was 17-19. Like, he doesn't have the best schedule, really, looking at it. So, I don't know, man. This is a weird fight. I think Conchita should come out here and kill him. Man, he has a ton of arm bars on the amateur scene, huh? Oh shit, they're all arm bars outside of one. Oh my god. But his jiu-jitsu may be fine. But we have no idea about his wrestling, but we probably won't have to know if he goes out there and he just beats the hell out of Fugit. So the pick is going to be Conchita. The bet is going to be Conchita. Probably just do it inside the distance because, man, this guy is fast and he's powerful. And damn, Adam is the slowest welterweight I've ever seen. I like Adam. I would love to bet on Adam. Just too slow for this guy. All right. Next fight of the night. More grease. If we can't get any grease here, we have Do Choi making his return at minus 190, going up against Kyle Nelson at plus 160. Over 2.5 is plus 145. Under 2.5 at minus 180. Let's start with Choi because he's the reason this fight is greasy. Yes, Dong Choi is the guy that fought Cub Swanson, is in the UFC Hall of Fame already for that fight, one of the best fights ever. That fight was in 2016. The last time we saw him, he got knocked out by Charles Jourdain in 2019. Why is he not fought in 3 years? Because of his military service. South Korea, you are forced to spend a few years in the military if you are a male under a certain age, no matter what. So, yeah, he came in as a young kid, the Korean Superboy. He's coming back as a 31-year-old man. Again, we haven't seen him in 3 years. Is he going to come back like the Korean Zombie and look phenomenal after taking a break? He needed a break. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he took an ass whooping against Charles Jourdain. He took an ass whooping against Jeremy Stevens. He took an ass whooping against Cub Swanson. Like, it did not look good for him. He needed to calm down so that he could get his durability back. But I mean, at the end of the day, the dude's an absolute round one killer. The guy's very, very good. He's very, very fast, very, very crisp. He has very good striking. Issue is he seems to slow down. And when he slows down, his chin becomes a little bit of an issue. He has super high volume. It's just his defense isn't the greatest. He's a little hittable. He has 50% takedown defense. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So you have this guy that comes out and looks like a potential top 5 guy in round 1. He fades in round 2, and if you get this guy to round 3, he's just a punching bag. That's kind of what happens. So all of his wins, I mean, round 1, round 1, round 1, round 2, round 2, round 1, round 1. They're all finishes in the early going of the fight. Is Kyle Nelson going to survive? That's the weird thing, man, because Kyle Nelson is the same way. He's a round 1 killer. He has pretty good striking. He has a ton of power. He has very suspect cardio. His cardio, once he gets out of round 1, does not look good. So this thing is going to look real sloppy if it makes it out of round 1 on both guys' behalf. He did start trying to mix in his wrestling a lot his last 2 fights, I noticed, against Jai Herbert, and Billy Q. He's not a good wrestler, don't get me wrong. He wasn't successful with the takedowns, but he tried. He tried to mix it in, and he's I mean, again, Choi has a 50% takedown defense, so maybe this is a guy he can take down. He's a little bit hittable, and his chin's a little suspect as the fight goes on. So we're looking at 2 round 1 guys, both extremely good on the feet. One guy we haven't seen in 3 years. The other guy is starting to mix in wrestling. I'm going to have to go with that guy, especially at plus money. I think Choi is the better fighter. I think he's especially better in round 1, but both guys are killers in round 1 and fade. So give me the plus money, sheer dog or pass. And we haven't seen Choi in 3 years. I can't bet him at almost minus 200. So the bet is going to be Kyle Nelson. The pick is Kyle Nelson as well. And that takes us to a fight that I want to be very confident in, but something is stopping me. We have Blagoy Inovov at plus 115 going up against Marcin Tybura at minus 135. Over 2.5 is minus 230. Under 2.5 at plus 185. I absolutely hate Marcin Tybura. I think he sucks. I think he's a little chinny. I think his striking's a little questionable. I think his wrestling is overrated. But at the end of the day, I think he wins a fight. I mean, although I think his striking is overrated, the volume's all right. His cardio is his weapon. He's a 37-year-old chunky heavyweight, and he has good cardio. And his last win against Alexander Romanov killed me. I love Romanov. It's one of my favorite fighters. King Kong's my boy. Romanov came out there and killed Marcin. Should have been a 10-8 in my opinion, but went out there and absolutely dismantled him. Then gassed out, and Marcin took over, and it got ugly. Marcin, he's not extremely durable. You can knock this guy out, but you got to do it early. Augusto Sakai, round 1. Shamil, round 2. Derek Lewis knocked him out in round 3, but that's Derek Lewis. He just struggles against big, explosive guys. Blagoy, I mean, Marcin is also going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's a slow starter. So I expect Blagoy to go out there and win the first round. It's just, again, he struggles with explosiveness. Blagoy is not explosive whatsoever. I'm surprised that he's younger than Tybura. He's 36, but in fight years, not so much. I mean, he's someone he has like a win over Fedor and Sambo or something crazy like that. That was his biggest claim to fame. His striking's okay. His wrestling's okay. He himself is a little hittable. He's durable as all hell. You can't knock this guy out. This is a guy that has the big mark in the middle of his chest because someone stabbed him in his chest and his heart, and he survived. Like he was like in a nightclub or something, and he got stabbed in the heart, and he's fine. Like this guy's crazy durable. Never been knocked out, never will. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. Uh, my main concern is although he has 77% takedown defense, Marcos Rogerio de Lima took him down. Derek Lewis took him down. I think Marcin Tybura is a better wrestler than both of those guys. And again, Blagoy doesn't hit very hard, and he's there to get hit. I think he's gonna get that last fight looked so bad against De Lima. He won. I had Blagoy as a lock. I don't think he won that fight. So if he's struggling with De Lima, he's gonna struggle with Tybura. So the pick is gonna be Marcin. Unfortunately, the bet would end up being Marcin as well. That takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have Devin Clark at plus 200 going up against Da Un Jung at minus 240. Over 2.5 is plus 130. Under 2.5 at minus 160. Let's start with Jung. I mean, his striking's okay. It's pretty good. He's going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage here. He loves to move forward. His power is real. He hits extremely hard. His cardio's all right. I've seen it good. I've seen it bad. He's kind of big for the weight class. My thing is, I have no idea about his wrestling or his jiu-jitsu. Looking at the guys he's fought, I mean, Dustin Jacoby, Kennedy, William Knight, Sam Alvey, Mike Rodriguez, none of these guys wrestle. Absolutely none of them. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a little sketchy there on that front. I mean, his chin, man, he got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby doesn't hit that hard. He also has a loss to Roque Martinez. That is not a good look whatsoever. I've also seen him rocked in some other fights. So Sam Alvey rocked him pretty bad, and Sam Alvey is really a middleweight. There's a lot of question marks with Da Un Jung. He's in his own head. He's not super old. He's only 29 years old. At some days, he looks world class. He looks top 10. Other days, he looks like he should be cut. You never know what version you're going to get. On the flip side, we're kind of on to what we're getting from Devin Clark. Devin Clark has a good wrestling pedigree, wrestling D1, but we haven't seen him utilize it in quite some time, and that's concerning, especially because his durability isn't what it used to be. He's 32 years old. He's just getting a little chinny. We saw Asmat knock him out in the 3rd round and double him up on strikes. William Knight, that was a weird fight at heavyweight. William Knight was not here to fight. Ian Putalaba dominated him. That's not a good look. Anthony Smith choked him out easily. I guess he did try to use his wrestling there, but his jiu-jitsu didn't look the greatest. Alonzo Menafield rocked him a million times. Ryan Spann choked him out. He's fought decent guys, but every time he fought someone good, he got absolutely dismantled. Anytime he fought a fraud in Daquan Townsend or even William Knight, like he looked fine. So he's fought Rackage. He beat Mike Rodriguez, lost to Jan. Yeah, man, he's fought a lot of good guys. But he has no good wins. Literally 0 good wins to stand on. Da Un Jung, yeah, probably closer to the Alonzo Menafields and the William Knights than he is a Anthony Smith or a Blockowicz or a Rockage. But at the end of the day, Devin Clark can't strike. He's getting chinny. He has extremely low volume. He used to fight at 185. His cardio's good, but you can back him up, and Jung loves to move forward, so that's not going to look good. And just the lack of wrestling I've seen as of late, I can't trust this guy in a stand-up fight. So the pick is going to be Jung. The bet is going to be Jung all day. And then that takes us to the main event. If you haven't, for whatever reason already, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, taking over one social media platform at a time. But we're at our main event here, a rescheduled bout against Derek Lewis at plus 195, going up against Sergey Spivac at minus 230. Over 1.5 is plus 100, under 1.5 at minus 135. Let's start with Sergey. I don't know what to think of Sergey, man. He's 15-3. He kind of reminds me of Marcin, where he goes out there and he just struggles with people that are extremely explosive. He's lost to Tom Aspinall early, got just bum rushed. Has a loss to Marcin Tybura. That's all right. Has a loss to Walt Harris early, got bum rushed. Like, you have to bum rush this guy. His chin, it's not bad, but it's not good by any means. If you clip him, he will go out. And as I was looking at his record, I mean, Sagai hits decently hard, but Sakai wasn't able to get any offense. He just took him down right away. Greg Hardy hits decently hard, wasn't able to get any offense, took him down right away. Tom Aspinall, he couldn't get down and he got knocked out. Alessio Oleinik, zero power whatsoever. Jared Vanderaa, zero power whatsoever. Carlos Felipe, zero power whatsoever. Marcin Tybura, zero power whatsoever. Taito Ivasa took him down right away, didn't get a chance. Walt Harris knocked him out. So anytime he fought anyone that has any semblance of power, he got KO'd. And he got KO'd relatively quick, unless he can take you down. And you know what? Spivac is a pretty decent wrestler. A lot of trips, a lot of body locks and throws. But his IQ's on point, man. Even that Oleinik fight, he's someone that wanted to strike with him a little, realized maybe I just need to take him down and make it easier. And he did, man. His IQ's fine. He usually has good game plans. His striking's not bad. But he should not stand up with Derek Lewis. He will get knocked out. His game plan's gonna be to go out there and wrestle Derek Lewis. And can he do it? Yeah, Derek Lewis he's rocking a 55% takedown defense. Not the greatest in the world. Of course, Derek has the most knockouts in UFC history. It's one of the he's the hardest hitter in the UFC currently. His striking's good. It's very low volume, but it's good. His jiu-jitsu, not so much. And yeah, his wrestling 55% is not a good mark going up against someone like Sergey. So this is literally wrestler versus striker. He's gonna get to who first. Every fight starts standing up. Derek Lewis's power does not go away. Is Spivac gonna get gassed wrestling him for round after round? Maybe. Will Spivac just finish him after he takes him down easily? Maybe. Will Derek Lewis just clip him real early and it's a real easy fight? Maybe. Will Derek Lewis just keep getting taken down and then get up and catch him with the 25 minutes he has to work with? Maybe. I can see all of those happening. I don't really know how to bet this fight, so I think that the plus 195 on Derek Lewis, and it was like plus 240 by knockout, that's enough for me. That's the only way he's going to win this fight. So it's going to be your standard. I'm going to take Spivac, put him in all of my parlays. And if that parlay is still surviving, I'll hedge with Derek Lewis by knockout at plus 240. It's a win-win. It's an easy win. Only issue is you're going to have to be up at like 3 a.m. to do this. So if you don't want to stay up and do it, I think Spivac is the safer bet. But I like Lewis, man. I don't hate him by KO here. I don't hate Lewis by KO. So the pick is going to be Sergey. The bet would be either Lewis by KO or just a hedge. And that's UFC Vegas 68, Lewis versus Spivac. It's not the greatest fight card in the world. It's really not. It's at a really bad time. But we didn't have fights last week. We will take anything at this point, and we have a big pay-per-view coming up next week. So beggars can't be choosers. Every pay-per-view is good when you win money. Let's get it.